Hello and welcome to Renewed. We're back after a long hiatus. If you're new to watching this little show, Renewed, let me tell you what Renewed is. It is a live interactive workshop. In the old format, I would do a one-on-one with another comic and we would workshop old bits back and forth. But now I went on hiatus, and the reason I went on hiatus with this show is because I was running out of things to joke about. All my material was going through. It was hard for me to keep up. So what I decided to do is change the format a little bit. So in this, going forward, what's going to happen with this show is I'm going to be more of a moderator and kind of help with the think tank, but I'm going to have multiple guests on the show. So we're going to get into this real quick. Lee is watching. Hey, Lee, thanks for tuning in. I miss your face. I haven't seen you for a while. Haven't got to come to Watertown and have breakfast with you. So we've got some people watching. So we're going to get into this this week on the show. I've got some really great guests. Both of them have both been on Renewed individually. They've also been on the Art of Bombing podcast, which is kind of the mothership of all the streaming and the joking. The joke writing and the getting better at comedy and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get our guests in. First, coming in all the way from Germany, we have Tera Kilbride. Here we go. There she is. Aha.
Nice to see you.
All right. And yeah, nice to see you. And we're going to keep this going. We're going to bring in our next guest coming in from North Dakota. Put your hands together and your little clappy emojis for Jenni Russi. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ha ha. There you are. Oh, there we go. Yes, I'm still getting used. I haven't did a stream in a long time. It's been a couple months now since I've actually did anything. I don't know. I didn't necessarily get burned out on all my streaming. I just got busy with other stuff. So now here we are. Yeah, we're just shaking heads. Somebody did. Oh, okay. I'm like, we're streaming. Did you guys just go blank up? Did we cut out?
And the choreography of the beverage and the dog in the background, and I was like,
right.
This is a good stream. Yeah.
I'm sorry about the dog. I put her upstairs with Greg, and she's still barking a little. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's your dog.
It's my dog.
Because Dana's dog's too. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Got the coffee cup. Got the dogs.
That's right. We're ready to do a live stream right out of our homes. People this is the behind the scenes of comedians. We just sit around and drink coffee and listen to dogs bark.
Right.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. Like I said, this is a new format. I haven't tried this yet. This is actually Jenni was actually the one that suggested doing a new format like this, and we talked. We had a little conversation about it, and I was like, "Hey, that's a great idea. You should be one of the first guests." So here she is, and thanks for the idea. We're going to see how this format goes. So I'm not actually going to be trying any material necessarily. It's going to be kind of back and forth with you guys. And I'm just going to be kind of a moderator and another brain to help with maybe some of the jokes and stuff. So I might chime in. I have one idea that I've been kind of working on, but I'm not sure if I'm going to even chime in with that. But so with that being said, we're going to get into this. Who wants to go first? I haven't thought about this format. I'm like, oh my God, who's got to go first? Should we make it a game? What? I don't even know. How do we make it fun? Who wants to go first? Maybe just a volunteer. I'll shut up now.
This is like nervous teacher at his first day of school. He's like, will the kids like me? Will anyone listen? Do I have a plan?
That's exactly it. Like, I forgot how to do this. I haven't interacted even online in a while.
Should I bring a talking stick? Should I? What's?
I've been such a hermit the last month or so.
Yeah. That's fine. I'm gonna offer to Jenni to make the choice, since it was her idea, if she wants to go first or wants to pass it. How about that?
Should we maybe both explain, because we might have similar goals here. So should we maybe discuss the goal that we have for this session and see, and then base it on that, like who goes first based on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 jokes that are within the same core, the same 5. And it's about childhood and growing up. And the joke has a setup and a punch, but it needs like a third. It needs like a bigger punch.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's
right to the death.
An international scandal.
Yeah.
That's funny because I'm exploring from the same angle. I've been doing some outdoor shows and then online shows. And most of my material is very adult. I'm in my 60s, so I am, I don't want to sugarcoat things, and it's very adult. But I'm cognizant of the fact that there are children who have access to the online ones. And then when I did that a drive-in, and then I'm doing a park this week, anybody can hear, kids can hear. So my goal is to take some of my adult premises and look at them through a child's perspective. So I think that we're looking at some similar things.
And almost
I want to make mine more X-rated. So
interesting.
My goal. Yeah.
So Tara's trying to go a little more X-rated. She's like, I want a childhood adult all the way. Yeah. And Jenni's, I want to take X-rated. No, this is adult and make it more family friendly.
Right. And I would like to undo the family friendly because I live in Berlin now. So
man, I think this is going to be good. So what do you have that's clean?
What do I have that's clean?
Right. Like what do you have now that you want to? So could you just maybe do the material that you want to address, and then we'll start from there?
Yeah, sure. So I have a set about. I open up with I've been single for a long time. I think the reason is because I'm an only child, and then I do 3 or 4 jokes about that. And then I say the reason that this is all coming up is that I actually got stuck at home during lockdown. And you may think that being stuck at home when you're 37 years old was not so great as a 37-year-old living with your parents. But no, when I was staying at home, when my parents brought home ice cream, I did feel like a special girl. The only bummer is you know how when you're at home, you become an earlier aged version of yourself? I started potty training again. And then that needs it needs an extra.
Okay.
I almost think on that you should incorporate the rule of 3 on that. So like 3 other things that you would start, 3 things total, like you got the potty training and then something else you learned as a child. Like you're basically learning life essentially. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and so you have Cheerios all over the house. You know how children,
Cheerio art.
Cheerio. They just spill.
Or macaroni art.
I was picking up Cheerios after my daughter left for college. You have Cheerios for years everywhere. I was thinking that dating, because well, I was thinking about along the lines of monogamy, because for an only child, it gives monogamy a whole new meaning. I was thinking,
that's good.
I was thinking, dating that not only do your parents, are you an only child, but bonus for your future spouse, they'll be the only in-law. And what does that look like as the only in-law? Potty training. I agree with Dan that you like to have 3, that the potty training.
Training again. I drank a bottle of shampoo and barfed it up. And I was even thinking I could heighten the, how when you move back home, you become an earlier age version of yourself. I started potty training again, which was great, except for the dog took my blankie and it pissed me off. But it has to be more vulgar, which is great.
Right. Well, the dog could steal your dildo.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
You went from pacifier to dildo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really going adult. I mean, I don't know how, what is an adult?
Dildo has some like,
some
this
adults.
isn't
I started potty
necessarily
training again. I found my old pacifier, but then my dog found my own dildo. I mean, there could be.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Pacifier, IUD. Actually, an IUD is kind of like a pacifier.
Yeah, it really is.
I always think of IUDs as like those ships in bottles.
Good observation.
You like have the bottle, you slide it and they go boop, or like boop.
Yeah. Then, yeah.
I don't know how to do anything with that, but that's an image I've always had.
Isn't necessarily that X-rated, but on the rule of 3, you could do something like, I've started potty training again, then I got drunk on shampoo, and then I made macaroni art.
Right. Got drunk on shampoo is a good image because it's like a grown-up image, but for a kid.
Yeah.
Got drunk on shampoo and made a sweet macaroni necklace, or like.
Well, and yeah, macaroni, and then like. I don't know. Like, I mean, when you were kids, I don't know. Maybe because maybe this is for like very small, like toddlers, and but toddlers, you put Cheerios in a cup. Maybe you have a beer mug with you have a beer stein with the Cheerios in it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I could just bring it on stage and just slowly eat it the whole time and not talk about it.
I feel like that was probably my childhood. Like I feel like my parents probably gave me a beer mug full of Cheerios.
Yeah.
And then being stuck at home, I mean, that would be in so many ways a dream, I would think. I mean, maybe I want somebody to take care of me. But of course, you could look at it from your parents' perspective. It was their dream come true. I mean, because I'm thinking, how would I feel if my daughter had to move back in? It wouldn't be so much about my daughter. I'd be very excited that I get my dog back. So.
On that too, though, that's a good observation as far as like being trapped at home, and like all of us have been, a lot of people have been trapped at home because of the pandemic. And if you look at all the things that people are doing, like they're looking for hobbies to stay sane. You know what I mean? So like we literally are doing things over like from our childhood. Like a lot of people are like they're dabbling back in hobbies they had when they were a kid.
You're putting your selfies on your parents' refrigerator.
Started finger painting again.
Yeah, we got a suggestion coming in here too. I want to post this real quick too. From James Kuhn says,
hi, James.
Say that your parents walked in while you were re-potty training. They applauded and congratulated you. That's really good.
Yeah, their approval at last.
Approval at last. That's a really good one.
Yeah, and I could even talk about like the poop that I made. Like, I don't need to be super descriptive, but I made a poopy, so I finally got their approval. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's a really good one. Finally got their approval.
You come out of the bathroom. Now you come out of the bathroom and announce what you did in there, just like kids would.
Right. I'm 37 and unemployed, but I finally got. Finally got their approval. I like that. I like that angle.
I like that too. Coming out of every time you come out of a bathroom, saying what you did, like you were a kid, but then you could put that in the scenario of like being out in public now, and it's like, the only problem with that is when I'm out at a restaurant or something, people give me funny looks when I walk out of the bathroom and scream, "I made a poopy!"
I'm wondering if there's like a different angle on the like announcing what you did. So it doesn't have to be like a poop joke, but it's like something like very simple that kids do.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, maybe, I mean, like, let's say you're on Facebook while you're in there, because you are in fact an adult, so maybe, you announce what you posted instead of.
Right. I was at home with my parents so long and I regressed, and now all of a sudden I'm posting that shit on Facebook. Like, look, I finished my mash, or whatever the thing is that I did.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we got asked for a high chair at a restaurant.
Yeah.
But as an adult, a high chair might mean something different.
Well, for me, it would just mean I could get up to the table.
Right.
But I still get booster chair jokes thrown at me.
Yeah, by your fiance or no? That would be cool.
By everybody.
I like that premise though of being like, I was at home so long that I started to get used to this dynamic with my folks, and now when I'm out in public in Berlin, I find myself doing this.
Yeah. That's definitely a good angle for it, because that would, it's like a ridiculous situation too. Like, to do those things, even doing it as an adult is already ridiculous. But then when you're carrying on doing it after you're back out on your own, is pretty funny to me.
Or when I bring my dates home now, because I'm bringing it back to dating. So I've been at home for so long, and that I started potty training again, which is awkward because now when I bring my dates home, I want to announce I made a pee-pee or something.
Yeah, because that would be a good kind of a good full circle of why you're single.
Right. Now when I bring my dates home, I show them my sweet
And then because the concept is that you are home because you're being quarantined. I mean, that's so, your dates have to bring a note from their mother saying that they don't have COVID. Then your parents take their temperature, which is really embarrassing because the only thermometer they have is a rectal thermometer.
But in Berlin, that's just normal.
In Berlin, that's just, so in Berlin, that's a hell of a first date, taking a rectal thermometer for.
That brings me to like another thing I wanted to talk about with like dating and COVID, actually. So maybe this can kind of continue into that, which is I think in dating in the age of Corona, we got to bring back hand jobs, for safety. So people will go to the club and they'll have like these like silky gloves, being like, ooh, we can date, but I only do Skypes and handies. Mm-hmm. And you gotta bring a note.
Oh God, that's funny. Oh, I don't know why. I had an inappropriate thought that just made me laugh because you're talking about the COVID and handies. You went with glove, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there you go. You can. That's got some hand sanitizer. We got another use for that."
I was thinking, thinking the hand sanitizer lube.
Yep, that's what I was.
Yep. Maybe you need to go a little more in like the direction that Jenny was saying of like bringing like a note from your like a little more cute, before we go too vulgar. Like you have to bring a note from your parent. It's like you just say like now dating me is just like going to school. You got to bring a note from your parent. You got to.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because this is just something to think about when you're doing a 5-minute set. Like you really have to, the audience really has to like you before they're going to be okay with you going super vulgar.
Yeah,
and like sometimes in a 5-minute set, that's hard to achieve. It's like once they've decided that they like you and they trust you, you can pretty much say about anything and they're going to be on board with it. But until you get to that point, it's a little harder. And in 5 minutes, it's a harder thing to accomplish.
Yeah. And I think that the premise is about reverting back to childhood is the more interesting thing to me. I guess I was being a little facetious when I said I wanted to get like vulgar, but I do want to make it more punch up. I wanted to punch it up a bit and make it more juicy. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like the most vulgar, because I don't think that the shock value is the point. The point is like, oh my God, picturing an adult potty training.
Oh, absolutely. That's funny. The whole like doing everything over from your childhood, to me, that premise itself is hilarious to me. Where I mean, and going through and then carrying it back into life. Because could you just imagine if you were at a restaurant and somebody just like another adult just stood up and was like, "I eat my vegetables," like started acting like that? You would just be laughing so hard at that.
I feel like there are so many like dude bro comedies like that have been made from the 90s until now that are based on exactly that concept.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I think not necessarily childhood though. Not necessarily. That's more to me, more adolescent, like teenager type hijinks. A lot of them, like movies you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're doing more like toddler, like with potty training and like,
Yeah.
so it's even more cutesy to me and more, I don't know, not necessarily done as much. I mean, most of the time it's stuff with teenage hijinks and adults, not necessarily toddlers.
And I went on a first date and I brought my binky. That kind of thing.
Oh, we got some stuff coming in. And then it says, eat with your fingers because you must relearn to use spoons and forks. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. We had cake after dinner and I just shoved my face in it.
Drinking wine out of a sippy cup.
Yeah, I don't know. That's more of a question than a suggestion. What makes you guys laugh? Like, what is the funniest things? I laugh at everything because I'm horrible. Okay, well, we're gonna put a pin in this one and do that because that's more of a question, but we'll answer that one at towards the end of the show. So thanks, Barry. We do have another suggestion. The toddlers will hand you a turd. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
things like that. But then that goes back to where she was saying she doesn't really want to necessarily go for the shot, like the poop joke. I mean, because honestly, toddler and poop, that's an obvious kind of, it's, it's almost like an obvious way to go with a joke like that.
But I like the macaroni necklace. I don't know if that translates like European. I don't know. Do people in Europe make macaroni necklaces? I don't know.
That's true. I don't know how that.
Yeah.
And that might be something you might take some time and do some research and maybe ask some friends of yours from Europe, what are things that they did growing up? You know what I mean? Like, and see if there is a difference. And if there is a difference, use those examples,
it's
apply
it to yourself. Different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not too, I don't imagine it's going to be terribly different. I mean, most people, everybody learns, potty trains. That's pretty common across the world. You know? I mean, hopefully, maybe not. I feel like things like that, like in early childhood, a lot of the things are going to be very similar. There may be different things, but I mean, it's worth looking into.
I think that what's universal with toddlers is putting everything in their mouth. Everything in their mouth. The language, like in addition to speaking the language that they are around, they will also babble, just make up words. Because they haven't made the distinction between language and communication. They think any sounds are communication, communicating. It's
kind of like me learning German.
Yes, actually, especially more so with German than many other languages, actually.
Putting out sounds and I'm thinking that I'm speaking the German. They're like, that's just a bunch of sounds. Yeah.
It's really just clearing your throat. Yeah. Then the walking and movement, just the toddler walk and wearing mismatched, out of season, inappropriate clothing or no clothing at all. Until my brother was about 7, whenever people would come over to the house, he'd get nervous, take off all his clothes and run away. He would come over and he would just get nervous and not know what to do and take off all his clothes and there'd be a pile of clothes there and a butt running away, And he was about 7 before my parents got him to stop doing that.
That's hilarious. It's almost like if only he could if he was like he could teleport or something, how like in movies, suddenly they disappear or go invisible or something. There's just a pile of clothes. It's like that, except he didn't go invisible.
I like the idea of like kids doing dumb things when they get nervous because I could do that when my date comes over.
Yeah. Well, if they can't, if like how kids will hide and they think you can't see, if they can't. Like if they don't see you, you can't see them.
Yep.
Right. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Like the Invisible Man on that one, that movie. Whereas like in order to be invisible, everybody had to look away.
Right. Or just like, yeah, not knowing what to do and hiding behind the couch.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to get in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, because you could talk about bringing a date home, and then you could talk about having to have a permission slip from their parents, do the temperature, that kind of thing, and then you could go into, while they're there, the things that happen, and like you said, getting nervous, you don't know what to do, so suddenly you just run and hide behind the couch.
I like that. That would be. I think you could just frame it as like, I got into these nervous habits from childhood, so now when my dates come over, I just like, when I get nervous, I just run behind the house, take off all my clothes.
Yeah, because it ties back into the very beginning, talking about being trapped at home and going through all this stuff as childhood.
Yeah, and I think that's the strongest premise right now for me. Yeah,
toddlers also write on the wall, they draw on the wall, and maybe so you started drawing on the wall. Unfortunately, it was your resume.
I forgot how to write a resume, so I just took my bath crayons and started scribbling.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, we're gonna switch it over now and throw it over to you, Jenny, to see what you got.
So I just made a list of the premises that are currently in my act that I can't necessarily address with children or with families. So, for instance, I have a joke about, I say that I went to a Baptist college, but I was lucky because I got to go there on a Virgin scholarship. And you thought your entrance exam was tough. And so I can't do that. But
no, that's Actually, here's the thing. I'm going to argue that I think you can do that, and here's why I think you can do that. Because even if there are because that is still a clean joke. It is not a joke for children, but it's clever to where a child is not going to understand it. Like that's the kind of joke that you would maybe not quite going that far, but if you watch a lot of children's movies, there are jokes that are like that to an adult they're funny, but to a child it's just words, because they don't quite they don't understand all the concepts. I mean, they don't understand what a virgin even is.
Right. You just know Virgin Mary maybe if they were raised Catholic, but they don't really a
Virgin Mary scholarship. And I was the only one. So then when I was going through this thinking, how can I, kind of stop? Well, that's the only scholarship that I'm aware of that you get for not doing something. Or not doing something well.
Oh, well, the word well puts a whole different spin on it.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I like the not doing something.
Okay, just leave it at that.
Yeah, because that's the thing that I've always found too, is like, there are jokes that you write so children will get them, and there are jokes that you can have that would be considered clean, and you could do in front of all audiences, not because, and the difference is you're not going to make you're not going to make kids laugh at it, and chances are, if there's at most shows, at least from my experience, very few shows that I've been at where there have been children in the audience, the children aren't even watching the show.
That's it.
Anyway, so they're doing their own thing.
Right.
So that's why it's like, okay, so you're not using profanity. So,
right.
And you're not being super vulgar with it. So it's not necessarily going to get their attention or be inappropriate in front of the children, who are probably not even paying attention anyway. But then it's funny to the adults because they get it, without being vulgar. So that's a way
last week at the drive-in, I asked the audience to honk their horn when I pointed at them. So when I got to the joke about being honkable, and I said, I don't have to prove that I am honkable because I have an adult child walking this planet as proof that I am honkable. And that worked with every joke that had a word in it. And then I thought, well, then, the kids in the neighborhood, aren't going around saying, honk, 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 and because for them, it's just repeating those words.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry?
What if you started a trend now? What if they are honkable?
Honkable.
She said, "What if you started a trend and now people are saying that?" And they're like, "Man, I saw this woman pretty honkable."
And then I have like my other premises, like I have some material about edibles, and I can't do that. But what with kids, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Kids don't know what an edible is.
Well, I don't know that I guess I could say edibles. Talk about edibles.
I mean, because here's the thing that there's like I said, there's a difference between being vulgar and having dirty jokes versus just having jokes that kids aren't going to understand.
Yeah,
like a lot of your jokes they're not necessarily dirty or vulgar. So it boils down to, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve being able to do these jokes in the presence of children, or are you trying to do these jokes so that children will laugh at them and understand them too?
See, right. I think it's the second. And I say, I think, because I haven't given this a lot of thought, obviously, which I should have. But here's the deal. I think I just think that it is offensive to say this is a family show. And I'm not the booker, but to take a family venue and then say, now we're going to bring in people who are going to ignore 1/3 of the audience.
Right.
I want to engage the kids. And I thought, and you're right, because the kids are going to pay attention to like maybe the first 5 minutes and then they are gone. Mm-hmm. So I actually also wondered about, and I'm sorry to go on to the next, but this is what I was thinking of with music, because I can bring a keyboard or a guitar, and I thought about writing a song. I like that. Honk if you're honkable.
Starting a trend.
Can I take that? Because I have the T-shirts right now.
Too, and that's a good point by Lee, that kids love wordplay. Silly puns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, as do adults. So I thought about writing a song about going back to school, or something in the kids' world that is not necessarily funny, but clever and entertaining for them, gives them their place, and it says, I respect you as part of this audience, and if you respect me, you'll follow along. Otherwise, hey, you be you, and then go on with my act.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just going to say that because that's the other thing with that, kind of what I was talking about before. If the children, like if the parents brought them to the show and they're actively part of the audience, whether they're watching it or not, that's different. Than, because there have been definitely shows where they say, quote unquote, family friendly. And what that means is it's the parents can bring the kids and the kids aren't going to be part of the show. But then there have been shows where family friendly, I mean, there's actually kids in the audience, Like, I remember doing a show, and the whole front row, most of the people at this show ended up being like high schoolers and younger, and I was like,
wow,
that shocked me. What I mean? Like, and I've definitely had shows where you end up having children in the audience. So I think if that's your goal, is to include everybody, then I think where you're going with, writing some other material that for them, I think that, and incorporating it into your act, then you're not excluding anybody.
Right. I just thought I could maybe go with my original premises, and then work with that, so that then I could then maybe take my adult material, kind of, here's the kids' joke, here's the adult's joke, move on to another premise, and move on. And I this is this gig this week is music in the park. They usually do music.
Mhm.
And then they asked me if I would do comedy, and I was like, "Oh, have you seen my?"
Well, you know how you respond to that. You do comedy music.
You might want to look at the clips on my website. You know?
Right. I'm Michelle Wolf. You should have researched my material before you hired me.
Yeah.
What if, with kids too, I might be doing something that's fun that they can like engage with, like physically. I'm just thinking in my teacher brain, like the alligator goes gawk gawk gawk, the duck goes honk honk honk, and then you bring the honk joke in for the adults.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty good.
Goose goes honk honk honk, and then later you do like the honking thing with the.
Right.
We're talking about Goose.
James Coon is on a roll with the honk. Too funny.
Yeah, and this is like that's a cool like branding idea too, is just to be like the show that is for kids and parents.
Well, it's not something I want to do in the future. I mean,
what it is though is it's still a good thing to have in your toolbox though, because what happens now, whether you want to do, whether you're trying to go that way or not, it gives you the ability to go that way. If a gig comes along and it's family friendly, now you have the tools to do it. You don't have to say no to the gig. You don't have to necessarily go market yourself to get them gigs, but if it comes your way, you don't have to turn it down.
People are starting to do that a lot more. I noticed that there's like drag brunches with kids, and there's even a show here in Berlin that I think is at a bar with like brunch and drinks and kids. So it's happening.
Yeah. Oh, there has. When I was in San Diego, I worked with they were called Brouhaha at first, and then the people that ran that gave the rooms to some producers that went by Comedy Heights, and all they did was like family friendly, PG-13, keep it clever, clean and clever versus dirty and vulgar or whatever. And there was a lot of times at their shows there would be children in the audience, not like young children, but there would be teenagers and basically preteen, early teenagers all the way up. And
this reminds me, I had this really funny, this is just a regular Berlin show, and it was fairly slow-ish for the show. And right before we started, someone was outside like, hey, come on in, we have a comedy show. A group of like 20, 18, and 19-year-old students, like on their like school tour, like pulls them in.
Oh,
wow. I mean, they were great, but it's a whole different energy. So.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, there are kids and teenagers that do like comedy, because a lot of it wasn't in those shows. It wasn't like their parents were dragging them. Like there was one kid that was there at like every show, every Saturday through their whole teenage life. Mm-hmm. Like they made their parents bring them. That's how it got, like that particular kid ended up being a regular, and most of the comics that went through there knew this kid by name because of that, because they were at every show they did there.
Right. Wow. It's good to have an arsenal of like jokes that are you might be inspiring the next generation.
But one thing I noticed about it, like I said, it wasn't necessarily that they tailored their material at the children. It's the clean and clever, where it's the clever word, the jokes that are to an adult, they're funny, to some of the kids, it's going to go over their head. But there's other material that is going to be funny to kids that, that even if you don't realize that it's going to be funny to a kid, there's a chance it could still be funny, different. It really depends on the premise and the type of material, and things that can relate to all ages versus, because even like with your joke about getting into college, you could tailor that so that, well, honestly, I don't know how you tailor that so that, even young kids would get it, because they've never been to college. They don't know what scholarships are. They don't know, like there's all these other elements of the joke that they're not going to understand,
even scholarships. I didn't know what that meant either.
Oh, just a scholarship for being a virgin.
And then she said, but it was hard to get because.
Do they actually give those out? Is that a real thing, or are you?
No.
Okay.
But I think it was assumed.
I got it. I grew up with the religious background, so I understood Baptist, what it meant.
Yeah, because I also talk about I grew up every religion. My parents, every denomination, Catholicism. I was first baptized in the Catholic Church, and then Methodist, and then Baptist, and I've been baptized so many times. I'm the only person I know who got swimmer's ear at church.
Nice.
He says, well, it's more of a Utah thing than a North Dakota thing.
Right. North Dakota usually pick one thing and stick to it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's kind of my challenge too, and you know that.
That's probably why he commented.
I'm not gonna say anything because I might have family watching.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the other thing, like I said, that you really kind of have to look at too, trying to rework some of the jokes. Are they even going to get the other part of it? Because if they haven't experienced, because a lot of what comedy is, it's being relatable. That's why people laugh at a lot of jokes. It's something they laugh because it's something that's happened in real life. They're like, oh, that is a real thing. If you talk about dating, people have been dating. They can relate to that. You talk about being broke or something, as people understand being broke. It's that relatability. So even cleaning them up that's why I have the argument of, well, that's a joke you could do in front of kids, because no matter what, they're not going to get it anyway, because they don't know they don't know the other elements of the joke.
And they respond to the physicality,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Act out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the other thing with that too is that you've got there isn't necessarily anything comparable that because kids don't know what scholarships are, so they're not getting even if they got a scholarship to go to a private private grade school, they don't know that. All they know is they're going to a school. You know what I mean? Like their parents know that they got the scholarship because the parents are the ones that did the work to get the scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe you would need to write a different joke, like how it, like, what does it mean to get into a club?
Right. Because I was thinking about, like we think of, the tough people being the bikers, and for them, maybe it's skateboarders or,
getting into a friend group or getting into
people aging out, you age out by the time you get to 5th grade. But they might say, yeah, that's true. And their parents think that's funny. So anyway, so maybe I think I'm just going to stick to a song, maybe write something for them to do, and they think that's funny.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's good. I like Tara's suggestion of doing something that gets them involved, and then you can do, make it relatable. Yep. Not relatable, but let it lead into your other jokes. And
it engages them.
It engages them, but then it leads you into doing your some of your material for the adults.
A call and response, a physical action.
Yep. I made a list of, things that they could do: clapping, stomping, turning in a circle.
I want to get a whole group of adults doing that. Like, I want to get a whole group of adults chanting something stupid on repeat.
Right.
It was like a goal that I had at one of my comedy sets. I don't remember what the thing was, but I wanted them to chant something really dumb with me over and over and over again. I don't remember what it was, but
that just works. I mean, that unites audiences when you get them to do that. I do that in my classes. I have a call and response that I begin my classes with when I teach. I come in and I say, I see you. And then my students say, I am here to be seen. And then I say, I hear you. And they say, I am here to be heard. Just as a reminder to them that it's about them. But then for me, it's about uniting that whole class.
When I get to be big enough, I want my comedy fluffer to do that pre-show, so that when I come on, the whole audience just says, I see you. I hear you. I'm here to see you. I'm here to hear you.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't even need to do the set. I'd be like, I'm good. You know?
Well, it's actually the reverse for me. I'm here for them, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Lee says that Jenny, that you turned XX years old and bought a motorcycle is unmindful.
I won that, Harley.
Lee is a big motorcycle enthusiast.
I know.
He's been trying to get me one to buy one.
I have to bring my bike down to him. We have to. I have to. I have to bring it down to Lee and go for a ride with him. But yeah, I'm a vegetarian, and what vegetarian wins a Harley Davidson motorcycle at a rodeo?
You won a motorcycle?
I won a motorcycle at a rodeo.
Well, I'm not going to miss that.
And my students were texting me, and they were like, you won. And I wasn't even at the rodeo. I bought a raffle ticket.
That's the fun one for kids is like you're the sweet person, and then you got a motorcycle, so you have to pretend to be a badass. Like pretending to be cooler than you are, pretending to be a badass. That's something for grown-ups and for kids. Just if you
it really is. That's a good premise, or a good because, like she said, you could definitely lead in, and this is where you can engage with some. If there's kids in the audience, you can be like, "Yeah, I know what it's like. I was a kid once. I know what it's like to try to fit in. I mean, I'm still trying to fit in, so I bought a motorcycle, or whatever. I'm trying to be tough, so I got a motorcycle.
Yeah, I think that's a premise to mine is ways to fit in.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, Lee coming in with a zinger. It's hard to be vegan and ride a motorcycle. Making leather out of fruit is highly overrated. Way to go, Lee.
Fruit leather.
And fruit leather is not good for a jacket.
Unless you're Lady Gaga, you could probably pull that off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, she did pull off a whole meat suit, so who knows? Terrible. All right, so we're getting close to the hour mark. Do you guys feel good about what we accomplished?
I have a quick one, if that's okay. It's like 2 sentences long, and even if we just like taste it,
Yeah.
then I'll be done because I got ahead. But so my mom was this way. My stepfather was even worse. He was into pyramid schemes back in the day. Only we were so broke they were just triangles.
That part's really funny. But it's even, I mean, that's really funny. But I was going to say real quick, I did not hear the first part of the joke about your mom. But that tells me that even the joke's funny even without the part about your mom. Because I missed what you said about your mom and still laughed at the punchline.
I was just giving you context of where I was going. The full joke is my stepfather was into pyramid schemes back in the day. Only we were so broke they were just triangles.
Yeah, and that was a funny joke. I laughed at that. So, okay.
What a scam. He was just selling shapes. Couldn't afford to fill them in. Like, I feel like it needs 1 or 2 more, and I don't know what the 1 or 2 more is.
That's some really good like wordplay, like puns.
So if you look at the difference between a triangle and a pyramid, I mean, it would be the slaves. No slave labor.
I don't know if I think I want to stick with like the dumb.
I'm not forcing that on you. I'm just throwing throwing things at the wall here. Yeah.
Something about being 3-dimensional versus 2-dimensional.
Yeah,
but maybe there's something about like business.
I was just thinking the stigma against, it's the stigma about pyramid schemes and about using people. And the truth is the pyramids were built by using people. And so actually that's kind of a good thing that he just had a triangle.
This is a pretty good tag.
He was such a two-dimensional guy. Yeah.
That's really fun. That's pushing it, but I like that. I like that direction. Another thing
that's to me, that seems like the direction you're going already, because you start with the pyramid scheme and then you're going into shapes, and you're almost it's turning more into a geometry joke than than any, you know what I mean? Like it's you're doing all this wordplay about shapes and angles and this and that.
He was such a two-dimensional guy.
So why do they even? I mean, it's mixing math with business. Were there other shapes that they had considered?
I mean, and this is another thing. That particular line doesn't necessarily, you don't have to put it at the end. That's something you could put in the middle, because you go, my stepdad was into, pyramid schemes, and then you say, but he, what was the second?
But we were so broke they were just triangles.
Yeah, and then you could say he was such a two-dimensional guy. Then do your next line, which is about selling shapes. And
what a scam, right? He was just selling shapes.
Yep. So I mean, just something to think about, there, because like I said, to me, it seems like a geometry joke. Yeah, it seems like you turned that into a geography joke because you went from here to there. See?
We need a map to follow your joke logic, Tara. You're getting a little too complicated. The jokes are good when you have to explain them. The jokes are good when you have to explain them.
It's not as solid as geology.
Oh no, Lee.
Boom, we're killing it at the
That's
end.
a cute joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's really good too. So that is a way to go with it, is like I said, the geometry stuff, because you're already with the shapes and angles and things like that. It's all a lot of wordplay.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
But also, I would say too, like on that joke, I don't necessarily like you could add more to it just to expand on it, like you're thinking. But I feel like it was a pretty solid joke with, without even expanding necessarily.
I think the extra lines will depend on the audience's reaction and the pauses, and if I can get one more out of them or not, and I'll have to read that in the moment.
Yep.
I'm just looking for slightly better lines. While I like those lines of he was just selling shapes, it's not necessarily a funny line. It's like if their energy's there, I can maybe get another laugh in, but got all the angles covered.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep. But his plan lacked depth.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. See, there's a lot there with like I said, with the geometry stuff, because you can do a lot of that work.
Amazing, brilliant comedian, and he was the perfect person for this set because he does a lot. James, he does a lot of awesome wordplay. So thank you.
He's had a lot of great suggestions in there.
His plan lacked depth.
We got one more. That joke is so
oh no, that's too much of a thinker. 3-pointed. That joke was a 3-pointer. Oh no.
Yeah, we started. We have went down a terrible road.
Do this on a night where I'm already really, really, really bombing hard, and I'm just gonna keep pushing it and just piling them up.
Sometimes that's the funnest. It's like, you know what? You don't care anyway, so I'm just going all the way.
Usually
I'm gonna see how far I can go with these.
Comedians in the back are laughing at/with you anyway. So
that's actually like, I don't know if it's a style or how it would be described, but sometimes when comics do that, where you think they're going to be done with the joke and then they keep going, I start laughing not at the joke, but at the fact that they're still going. You know what I mean? Like that's what becomes funny now, is that they should have stopped 3 punchlines ago and they're like, nope, we're gonna go. And then you think, oh, they're done, definitely done. And then they do another, they go through a bunch more, and I'm just like, oh.
That's what I want from this joke. And I actually, when I did it live, when I didn't like that I expanded it, but I was bringing it back to Sesame Street, like today's episode brought to you by the number 0 for how much money we have, and by the shaped triangle. Like it was some sort of Sesame Street. It didn't work, but I like what you're saying, like the continuing to add and to add.
You get that wordplay in there, and kind of the wordplay and the puns mixed in there.
That's a better way to go. And then there's exhaustion, there's fatigue, there's frustration, and then there's, joyful obliteration at the end, right?
Yep. All right. We do have to wrap up, though. We've got like 4 minutes. Before we do, though, I like at the end to do like a Q&A where it's just open. I'm still going to do this even in the new format. So if you have any questions that you want to ask anybody, feel free to do that now. We'll do it as quick as we can. We are going to go back to the question we got earlier, which is what makes you guys laugh? Like, what's the funniest thing that comes up in your memory that you cannot help but smile at? So I will let you go first, Jenny.
Surprise. If I get surprised, when a comic says a setup and the punch was not at all expected, I'm going to laugh.
Yep, that's a good one. What about you?
What do I find the most funny? I don't even know how to answer that question. I thought he was talking about childhood memories, so I went in a different place with that. Nothing in my childhood was funny. It was very dark. So we're mining the funny out of it. No, yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything right now. Yeah.
Oh, you don't have anything? What? You don't have anything that makes you laugh?
I like. Okay, so there's one thing that I'd like to get good enough to be able to do that I've seen in a comedy special where Leslie Jones, she's a physical storyteller, right? And I don't really tell stories often, but sometimes. But she just looks at someone and she's like, "You," and she just goes after this person. And when you can go after a person, I don't know how to describe it, but she just like zones in on someone and just like gives them. I'd like to be able to do that type of audience.
Kind of give them a hard time, but it's still like playful to where the person's not.
Yeah, it's not mean. It's just something about being able to like look around, all of a sudden like bring them in and then go up close to them and then just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's that commitment. It's the same thing that you were talking about earlier with, this didn't work, I'm going with this. Oh, this might not even work even more, and just committing to the premise and committing to that, following through on that person. Yeah, it really is. I think that's what makes comedy strong, that commitment. Even if it's something like, something that's a surprise, they're committed.
Committing to the bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and committing, even just the physicality. Like I've been doing more audience work, like not to suck up my whole set, but just a little bit of like interaction, but I'll just like dip my toe in and being, it'll be a comment about someone's posture or something. And then I'll move along because I want to work my jokes. But like ideally when I'm hosting, I'll be able to like really go in and like explore everything that I notice about someone more in depthly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His is a good too. Patrice O'Neill, now that he says that he's right. Patrice O'Neill did that a lot too, where he could just like totally zone into somebody in the audience like that. That is definitely a good skill to have. I laugh
like at hosting one. It's one to work while you're hosting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know for me, a lot of things that make me laugh now as I'm getting older, I don't know what it is. I don't have kids, but maybe I am turning into a dad. Stupid dad jokes have been just cracking me up, so much so that I've actually been writing a lot of dumb dad jokes lately, which wasn't like my forte, when I first started comedy, I wasn't into like those necessarily silly jokes, but now I kind of am.
If you want to do a dad jokes live stream, I will totally willing do some time on that, Bill. I'm just saying. Give me some heads up.
That could be fun. That could be fun.
It's like, here's what's the difference between an amusement park and the men I date? One is a Six Flags, the other is Red Flags.
Got him.
Like that. I have a few of them, but it'd be nice to put them all together because sometimes in a Fiverr where you're being a little more long form, they don't work. But like, I would love to get like a little basket of them and put them in a.
Yeah, everybody, the dad jokes are great. They're so silly. I think that's why I like them. I missed one too from Sandy Jones comedy too. It was another thing on your.
Some might say he was part of a Ponzi scheme. Bringing it back.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up. Before we do, if you guys are for all of you that are watching this show, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm not sure. I'm gonna be doing the show more. I haven't decided on the time. Usually it's on Tuesdays. I did this special one on Saturday so we could have Tara involved because she's in Germany. Yeah. So we had to do a special. I'm not sure what day, but we are gonna come back. This is gonna be the new format for it. With that being said, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you check out the Art of Bombing podcast. Make sure you follow the Art of Bombing podcast page. There's also a Facebook group called the Art of Bombing Pod that's going to be dedicated to getting better at comedy, not just the podcast, but sharing other podcasts that have good information about getting better at comedy, maybe articles, things like that. So if you want to get involved and be part of the community, please do so. And last but not least, make sure you follow these guys. Where can they find you?
Terradise Comedy, TERAADISE on Facebook.
Oh, right there.
Right there. You see?
Yeah, like what? Oh, there I got it right.
Technology's hard. We're old.
And you can see me at my website.
Oh, she's nailed it.
Look at her. She's like, practice makes perfect. I watched them two bumble around. I'm getting this on the first
job.
Nice. And Lee says, listen to the recent episode where Jenni Russi was a great guest. She was a very great guest. So was Tara. Listen to her episode too.
Yeah. Tara's episode is real interesting too. Yeah.
Yes, because we talked about international comedy. So
right.
And that concept of they have to like you at the very beginning, or or you're just I
really have totally learned that the hard way, and am starting to starting to get that, which is nice. But
a lot of stuff later can be forgivable.
Right.
Yeah. That was a really good reminder. Yeah, that was a good episode.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And that's going to be the end of the show.